I'm also going to be using the book, The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. Now we can connect, what a lot of people of color were doing in other lands, because everyone wasn't just in Africa. What they tell us here in these narrative or artistic license schools, TVs, books, everything else. But we were doing lots of good things and bad things too. But I'm going to use these two books mainly. The House of Alpin. The fallen rulers of Scotland, regardless of their blood connection with Kenneth MacAlpin, politically selected another dynasty titles as the House of Dunkeld, House of Canmore, House of Ballet, House of Bruce, and the House of Stuart. The Moorish House of Stuart continued to rule both Scotland and England in AD 1603 until it was succeeded in AD 1714 by a German rule and blood kin of the Stuarts called the Hoveran dynasty.
Martin Lawrence, he's about to go back in time. 911! White man down!
Do you think you would have survived back in the 14th century? Do you think you would have survived back in the 14th century?
Maybe if I was there and I was used to it and I had to come up that way, then maybe.
What is that, man? It's food. Tis roadkill.
Not your thing.
So black knights did exist during that time period, the medieval ages. We know that King Arthur was a so-called black man, and the knights, or the black knights of the Round Table. Okay, we were still in rulership during the medieval ages. And they had a lot of the white peasants working the fields. Okay. But Robert I, 1306 through 1329. The Catholic Moorish Robert I, better known as Robert the Bruce, was son of Robert de Bruce VI, Earl of Carrick, by right of his dark-skinned Pictish wife, Marjorie, the daughter of Niall or Niger or Naal, black, who was the son of Duncan, meaning swarthy, black, or dark-skinned warrior. The Bruce dynasty was a direct descendant of David I, who was the youngest son of Malcolm III. King David I was the great-great-great-great-grandnephew of Niger Kenneth Dub. Robert the Bruce, who was the great-great-grandson of David I, became the father of David II, who succeeded him. Bruce's dark-skinned mother, Margaret, also called Marjorie, married Walter Stuart VI and became the mother of Robert II, who became Scotland's first Stuart king. Also, on a side note, King Robert the Bruce chief lieutenant and friend, Sir James Douglas, who fought in the Scottish Wars of Independence, was called Black Douglas because of the deep black skin. His father's brothers and offspring were also described as having black complexions. That's why we also here in America get the famous Frederick Douglass, who most likely was a descendant of the Douglasses or the Black Douglasses. Now I'm going to look up the name Douglas, the original indigenous Europeans, the Black Douglasses. So looking at the etymology online, the word swarthy means dark color, especially of skin, 1580s. Unexplained alteration of swarthy, 1570s, from swart plus y. Naturally having skin of dark color, or melanin or carbon rich. So basically, the people of the ancient or medieval times were people of color. They were not what you will call white. And the author of this book, Ancient and Modern Britons, David McRitchie, alludes to this. So right here I have the Negro rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. Go to the back of this book, the Gaelic. Show you what the word Douglas means. Black, Negro, Niger, derived from the word Douglas, meaning black or more. All right. Now we have this book, the Ancient and Modern Britons, Volume 1, the Black Douglasses. Let's see. Sir James Douglas inherited the blood of his swarthy ancestors. Now we know swarthy means dark-skinned or so-called black, carbon-rich, melanated people. Whether he was a lineal descendant of the 8th century Douglas or not. Okay. And we know he was. Let me see. As already stated, Goscroft remarked that he is said to have seen, he is said to have been a black and swart complexion, an expression somewhat stronger than that used by Barber. This dusky skinned earned for him, said the historians, the title of the Black Douglas. Right? The good Sir James, it may be well questioned whether this title was his particular property. There is indeed every reason to believe that it served no more to distinguish him from the other Black Douglases than the black man was separate one out of a whole tribe of black men. So basically, there's a tribe of different clans in the ancient world, in the British Isles. They was fighting each other, basically. For not only was the good Sir James known as the Black Douglas, but so also was his grandson, a son of Archibald the Grim, and Grim means black or ugly. All right. So apparently was the 8th Earl of this line, who was killed at Stirling in the year 1452 by King James II. All right. Now here we have Grim equals black. All right. Same thing up here. Archibald the Black or Archibald the Grim, swarthy complexion. Right here. There is thus no room for doubting that the chiefs of the Black Douglas tribe were styled the Black Douglas because of their dusky skins. Now, there's only one group of people who have dusky skins, so-called people of color or carbon-rich melanated people. All right? Wherever you encounter the Black Douglas in history or tradition, you will find that he is a black man. The so-called black man like the Americas today. Your surnames are not slave names.
I told you to go behind the word to dig out the truth. What's your name? I'm Little. No, that's the name of the slave masters who own your family.
See, that's the big narrative here in America, and they feed a lot of money into that storyline that everyone's last name was from slavery. How can it be from slavery when we was over there in Europe and ruled for centuries? It doesn't make any sense. That's like saying the so-called Caucasians came up with the names and then they just gave it to us. That's not the case. We started, with the Gaelic, the Old English. Those were our names. And the peasants worked the fields during that time, the medieval ages. We're the ones that created the feudal system too as well. All right. Let me see. Here we go, right here. The Black Douglas clan were themselves black-skinned men. Okay? Now, this book is not for public consumption, but it is. But back then, this was this man, it was his, he was doing studies in the 1800s, trying to figure out where he came from. And he was making all these discoveries that the ancient people of Europe, the Celts, the Britons, the Gauls, the Black Douglases, these were all people of color. Right here. The Black Douglas was simply a swarthy tyrant like the Black oppressor of Welsh traditions or that other Black Knight.
Do you think you would have survived back in the 14th century?
Maybe if I was there and I was used to it and I had to come up that way, then maybe I would. I think I could.
King Arthur was a black man in the Black Knights of the Round Table. Okay? And in the diction of the past, a black man was a Moor. So that when the Black Douglas and his brothers with others of their tribe had retreated to the wilds of Annandale after deflection of their allies in the year of 1455, they were virtually a band of marauding gypsies or Moors, as the legend of Machiavellian testifies. Excuse me if I butchered that word. Okay. Let's see. Right here. The Black Douglases were taken as examples of the Scot proper or early Scot.
How's that?
That's good.
Yeah? Huh? Thanks, guys.
But this we have seen is equivalent to Moor or early Pict. Okay? The black herds of Scots and Picts were all alike to the British Galads or the British Islands. Like I said, there was a clan, the same phenotype, just different clans fighting each other. All right? The characteristics of the wild Scots of Galloway are identical with those of the Picts or Moors of Galloway. All right? Thus, as Moors or Scots or Picts, the purest specimens of the Douglas of Galloway were gypsies and Falls, and the Douglas or Lattery, a Black Douglas, was a generic term. Okay. Therefore, for this reason, also a Black Douglas was only a synonym for a Moor. Okay. Surnames, not slave names. But it must be remembered that this name originally meant nothing more than the black man. So how is that a slave name when our ancestors gave us these surnames? And that it only clung to one special tribe by the same accidental process that has made such names as Black, Duff, Dow, Brown, like Chris Brown, Bobby Brown, Don, Donald, Dune, and others became the distinguishing surname of other families. What other families? So-called black families. And there's a lot of so-called Caucasians with our names. They thought that we had their names because of slavery, but it's actually the other way around. They have our names. Okay? Let me see. In noticing those Douglas lords that were unmistakably styled black because of their complexion, it wasn't because of no hair. That's where you get Brown, you get Dawn, and all these other names, okay? Because of the complexion. It was observed that one of them, a son of Sir James, was surnamed the Grim. And we know Grim means black, okay? Or ugly or stern. So you see, these are not slave names. That was just a narrative because people that hated us taught us that slave narrative, okay?
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Yeah. What can you prove, huh? Nothing. Where's your evidence, huh?
All right, right here we have Kenneth the Niger, dub, like dub speakers. Okay. Christian Moorish, we know that Moor means black, or Douglas, you know. The Christian Moorish convert Pictish, because they were all a phenotype of black men. King Kenneth the Niger, Black Dub, Duffy, the great-great-grandson of Kenneth MacAlpin, ruled Scotland from AD 962 to 966. This triumphant king ruled 3 provinces in the Scottish Alba Highlands. He was the first son of Malcolm I MacDonald and was killed at Forest Moray by devotees of his third cousin, Cullen. So basically, a lot of these brothers were killing each other over wars and family disputes. The Scottish Chronicle of the King's Alba, Scotland, and historian John of Verdun called Kenneth the Niger. Or Kenneth the Nigger. Kenneth the pure Negro Moorish blood continued to flow in the veins of the Scottish British rulers. Queen Elizabeth II, the mother of Prince Charles, Andrew, Edward, and Princess Anne, and the grandsons Prince William and Henry Harry are descendants of Kenneth the Niger. The royal King Kenneth the Niger is the 29th great-granduncle of Elizabeth II. All right. Kenneth MacAlpin, whose aspiration was to unite Scotland. However, because of personal bigotry, this Scottish king's very historical existence has virtually been erased from the pages of history, like every so other called black man in this world. They don't want people to know this. Okay? All these brothers, Negroes, Moors, or Israelites, Hebrews, Macbeth, all those plays with Shakespeare about people of color. There wasn't no white man. All right?